Hey there, and welcome to the channel. Winter might be a time for cozy nights and snow-covered landscapes, but behind the beauty lies something darker. Have you ever heard a sound outside on a freezing night and felt your heart race? Or maybe you've experienced that eerie silence when the snow absorbs everything, making the world feel just too quiet. Well, tonight, we're diving into 5 bone-chilling winter horror stories that will make you think twice before looking out into the icy darkness again. Before we jump in, drop a comment below. What's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you during winter? Let's share some chills in the comments. And make sure you stay with me till the very end, because the last story will haunt you long after the snow melts. Ready? Let's get into it. Story 1. The Snowy Hitchhiker. It was a freezing December night when Brian was driving home after a long day at work. The snowstorm was relentless, and visibility was almost non-existent. As he squinted through his frosty windshield, he saw a figure walking on the side of the road. Against his better judgment, Brian decided to stop. The woman was pale, dressed in a thin, white dress knot, exactly winter attire. She climbed in without saying a word, her hands trembling from the cold. Brian tried to make small talk, but she just stared ahead, her breath fogging up the window. After a few miles, she whispered, "This is my stop," pointing to an empty, snow-covered field. Confused but not wanting to argue, Brian pulled over. The moment he turned to tell her to be careful, the passenger seat was empty. No footprints, no sign of her at all. Just the biting wind whipping through the open door. Have you ever heard of anything like this? Let me know in the comments. These stories of phantom hitchhikers always send a chill down my spine. Story 2. Cabin in the Woods. A group of friends rented a remote cabin for a winter getaway. They wanted to unplug, drink hot chocolate, and enjoy the snow. The first night went off without a hitch, but on the second night, strange things started happening. They heard faint knocking on the windows, but when they looked, there was nothing but darkness outside. Later, one of them woke up to the sound of footsteps crunching in the snow. Thinking it was a friend playing a prank, he opened the door. To his horror, there were dozens of footprints circling the cabin, all leading into the forest. But the snow was untouched around the edges, no footprints leading back. The friends left the next morning, terrified but unharmed, and no one could explain what had been outside watching them. If this story's giving you chills, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these creepy tales. Story 3. The Frozen Shadow. Emma was a night owl who loved walking in the snow-covered park near her home. One night, as the snow glittered under the moonlight, she noticed her shadow behaving strangely. It moved when she stood still and seemed to grow taller and more distorted with each step. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but then the shadow darted ahead of her, disappearing behind a tree. Heart-pounding, Emma turned to run, only to find her shadow standing still staring back at her. To this day, she avoids the park after dark, convinced that whatever she saw wasn't just her imagination. Story 4. The Silent Blizzard. A family was snowed in at their mountain cabin during a sudden blizzard. With no cell service or power, they relied on their fireplace for heat. On the second night, they started hearing faint whispers as if someone was standing just outside the windows. The whispers grew louder, but when they looked, there was nothing but snow whipping against the glass. When the storm cleared, they found claw-like marks on the walls outside the cabin. They left immediately, leaving everything behind. Whatever was out there didn't want them to stay. If you are enjoying these stories, don't forget to subscribe. I've got even more chilling tales coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Story 5. The Ice Fisherman. An experienced ice fisherman, Mark, decided to spend a weekend alone on a frozen lake. He set up his tent and drilled his holes, ready for a peaceful weekend. But that night, as he sat in silence, he heard a deep, guttural groan coming from beneath the ice. Thinking it was just shifting ice, he brushed it off. The groans grew louder, almost like a voice calling his name. Mark looked down and swore he saw a face beneath the frozen surface, eyes wide and staring back at him. He fled, leaving his gear behind, and vowed never to ice fish alone again. So, which story gave you the biggest chills? Let me know in the comments. I am dying to hear your thoughts. And if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. Don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss what's coming next. Speaking of next, the next video dives into stories of survival and mystery set in extreme cold. It's going to be just as spine-tingling as tonight's stories, so be sure to stick around for that. Until next time, stay warm, stay safe, and watch out for what might be lurking in the snow.